You can't fake authenticity. 6 words, spoken calmly yet slicing straight through the velvet curtain of celebrity branding. And when they came from Martha Stewart, America's undisputed matriarch of lifestyle empire, those 6 words sounded less like advice and more like a warning. Her target, Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, now reinvented as a lifestyle entrepreneur, had just launched her Netflix series with Love Meghan and an accompanying brand As Ever. Both were carefully packaged, meticulously styled, and released to the kind of meteor fanfare reserved for royalty, but reviews mixed at best. Martha was asked about Meghan's foray into the lifestyle world during an interview with a Connecticut radio station. Her response was measured non-confrontational on the surface, but beneath the pleasantries was a quiet barb. Meghan, I don't really know very well. I hope she knows what she's talking about. Authenticity to me is everything. And to be authentic and knowledgeable about your subject matter is extremely important. The timing was no coincidence. For decades, Martha Stewart built her brand on deep experience, gardening, cooking, entertaining long before social media and filters. She didn't inherit a platform, she made one. So when a former actress turned duchess appeared to leapfrog into the lifestyle space armed with glossy Netflix visuals and vague philosophies of elevated living, many in the industry quietly bristled. Martha wasn't the first to raise eyebrows, but she was the first to speak. And when Variety reposted the quote with the headline, "Martha Stewart questions Meghan's lifestyle credentials," it ignited a firestorm online. Fans rushed to Meghan's defense. Critics leaned into the doubt. And those in the lifestyle community, they began whispering the one thing every brand dreads. Is it real? Or just another performance? Because with Love, Meghan doesn't just present curated tablescapes or ethically sourced candles. It presents Meghan herself, an aspirational guru guiding audiences through her vision of slow, intentional living. Lavender harvesting, artisan cutting boards, afternoon tea with purpose. It's serene, it's elegant, it's carefully branded. And yet something feels off. The transitions are too smooth, the dialogue too polished. Even Meghan's on-screen moments, soft focus, flawless lighting, evoke a character, not a creator. Where Martha once stood in muddy gardening boots, teaching bread kneading from scratch, Meghan appears in pristine linens, arranging florals like a Vogue spread. The difference, one feels earned, the other engineered. And therein lies the tension. This isn't just a story about 2 women, it's about 2 philosophies. Martha represents a generation that equates authenticity with laborcraft and lived experience. Meghan's iteration is post-royal, post-PR, post-image, a branding play in the era of self-mythology. Still, the weight of Martha's words hit hard. They didn't accuse, they didn't mock, they simply questioned. Do you really belong here? And for Meghan, who spent the last 5 years redefining her identity outside the monarchy first, through victimhood, then through independence, that question may be the most dangerous of all. Because if the world begins to suspect that her lifestyle empire isn't rooted in authenticity, but in aspiration, the entire foundation of As Ever could begin to crack. But behind Meghan's elegantly curated tablescape and Netflix contract murmurs inside the industry began to surface. Was she building a lifestyle brand or just selling the illusion of one? The lifestyle world is crowded with personalities, but it has always reserved respect for those who built their names through decades of consistency, labor, and authenticity. And within that world, Martha Stewart is the summit revered not only for her empire, but for the hard-earned trust that underpins it. So when Meghan Markle arrived seemingly overnight with a Netflix deal and a brand called As Ever, she didn't just enter a new industry. She walked directly into sacred territory. At first, many assumed it was a natural evolution. After all, Meghan once ran a blog called The Tig, where she dabbled in food travel and wellness content. But this wasn't a casual return. This was a strategic rebrand, positioning herself as a modern guru of intentional living with a production budget and royal backstory to match. But behind the filters and floral arrangements, something wasn't resonating. Within weeks of With Love, Meghan debuting on Netflix, reviews began trickling in. While production quality was praised, critics noted a peculiar hollowness. Beautiful to look at, but emotionally sterile, wrote The New Yorker. Feels curated to death, added Vulture. Even Meghan's most ardent supporters acknowledged the show was pretty, but lacked substance. Then came the industry murmurs. Insiders from the lifestyle and branding space, producers, stylists, brand consultants began talking. And one word kept surfacing: inauthentic. One notable leak came from a Netflix internal memo obtained by the Daily Beast, where a producer allegedly expressed concern over the content's lack of grounded personal experience. The note stated, "We've built sets to simulate authenticity. Viewer feedback suggests they can tell." According to sources, Meghan had turned down filming scenes in her real Montecito home. Instead, spaces were styled and rented to create a mood-cozy minimalist, serene but far from lived in. Floral arrangements were done by outside teams, Even some meals were pre-prepped for visual consistency. The question was no longer about taste, it was about truth. Martha Stewart's empire, by contrast, was rooted in trial and error. She burned pies, she planted gardens, she taught an entire generation how to fold linens, clean silverware, and host with confidence. Her kitchen wasn't aspirational, it was instructional. Her empire grew because it felt real. Meghan's, at least so far, felt staged. And as more critics drew comparisons, the contrast only sharpened. On The View, co-host Sunny Hostin said there's a difference between living the life and selling the life. Martha lived it before she branded it. Meghan's doing the opposite. Meanwhile, industry watchdog Brandwatch reported a noticeable dip in engagement with As Ever content after the initial launch hype, suggesting the aesthetic wasn't converting into community. For a brand built on the promise of mindful living, this was dangerous territory. Because in lifestyle, as Martha herself once said, you don't sell the product, you sell the trust. And trust was beginning to crack. But the real turning point came when an internal Netflix note revealed the authenticity index is low. Audiences don't feel like they're seeing her real life. Suddenly, Meghan wasn't just facing criticism. She was facing disbelief. At the start, Meghan's move into lifestyle was viewed by some as bold, others as opportunistic. But beneath the polite reviews and aesthetic praise, the narrative began shifting. The question was no longer, can she pull this off, but rather, is any of it real? The first warning signs came from the community itself. Top lifestyle personalities, Joanna Gaines, Ree Drummond, and even Chrissy Teigen, began making quiet moves to distance themselves. None commented publicly, but multiple outlets noticed something odd: no cross-promotion, no endorsement, silence. For an industry that thrives on collaborations and shared audiences, this was telling. Then came the pattern. Across Reddit threads, blog reviews, and niche forums, viewers started noticing inconsistencies in With Love Meghan. Ingredients pre-measured but unacknowledged. Pets appearing in one scene, missing in another. A backyard garden that changed shape between episodes. On social media, the hashtag #StagedWithLove trended briefly as side-by-side comparisons showed Meghan's Montecito estate and the film set labeled as home. It wasn't scandalous, it was subtle, but it planted a seed. One anonymous crew member spoke to Insider, there was a lot of styling, a lot of elevated reality. She wanted it to feel effortless, but nothing was left to chance. What cracked the image wide open, however, was a leaked pitch deck for As Ever. Distributed to potential brand partners in early 2024, the document contained Meghan's market positioning phrases like post-royal wellness authority, bridging aspirational, with achievable and authentic storytelling, driven by emotional currency. That last line stuck. Because if your authenticity is driven by strategy, is it authenticity at all? Martha Stewart, without naming names, doubled down in a Good Morning America interview. When asked about the influx of celebrities entering lifestyle, she responded, "You can't walk into this space with a script. You have to have a history. People trust people who've lived it, not those who've branded it." Suddenly, Meghan wasn't just a woman branching out. She was seen fairly or not as a performer entering a profession where performance breaks trust. The biggest twist: the audience didn't reject her because of her content. They rejected her because they couldn't believe the content was hers. As one marketing analyst put it in The Atlantic, Meghan is trying to be Martha, Gwyneth, Joanna all at once. But those women started from small, personal, imperfect beginnings. Meghan started from a Netflix soundstage. And yet Meghan herself sensed the shift. A behind-the-scenes clip never aired, but leaked by a junior Netflix editor, showed Meghan pausing during a shoot. She sipped tea, looked off camera, and said softly, "I don't know if they'll ever believe I actually like this stuff." That moment, quiet, unfiltered, was the most real thing viewers never got to see. And therein lies the irony. The show, the brand, the whole lifestyle pivot was built to curate belief, but belief can't be curated. It has to be earned. Martha Stewart didn't need to say Meghan's name again. The audience already had their verdict. But just as public doubt peaked, a new controversy surfaced, one involving a leaked clause in Meghan's brand contracts that allowed her to substitute herself with brand representatives in certain appearances. Suddenly, authenticity wasn't just questioned, it was contractually optional. If doubt had been simmering, the leaked contract clause poured gasoline on the fire. Buried in a 2024 sponsorship agreement between As Ever and a European homeware brand was a line that sent the lifestyle community into chaos. The principal reserves the right to substitute herself with a qualified brand representative in digital or in-person promotional activations, provided brand values are upheld. The principal, Meghan Markle. The implication: Meghan could outsource her presence. It was legal boilerplate, common in large brand deals, but for a brand whose entire appeal was authenticity, it was a devastating revelation. Martha Stewart didn't respond. She didn't need to. The industry did it for her. Within 48 hours, several small lifestyle influencers publicly cut ties with As Ever, citing value misalignment. One wrote on Threads, if your name is the brand, you have to show up. Literally. #curated not authentic trended again, this time louder. And then the Netflix leak dropped. An internal post-mortem presentation meant for executives was anonymously leaked to the press. One slide stood out: audience engagement and sentiment trust index 41% after episode 3. Why episode 3? It was the one where Meghan hosted a mock intimate dinner gathering, but viewers noticed no friends were named. Candles were unlit, the food was cold, the scene felt robotic. Reddit threads exploded with speculation. One viewer noted it felt like AI tried to recreate a dinner party. Brand trust, the invisible foundation of any lifestyle empire, was evaporating. The more polished the content, the faker it felt. And at the center of it all was Meghan silently watching the backlash mount. Insiders told The Cut that Meghan was deeply shaken. One said she wanted to be seen as relatable, inspiring. Instead, she's being seen as strategic, even cynical. Then Martha returned strategically. On her podcast, The World According to Martha, she dedicated an episode to brand truth in the influencer age. No names, no direct shots, but one line stood out. When you hand off your voice to a team, you lose your soul. A brand can't have both marketing and meaning if you're not present in it. It didn't matter that she never said Meghan. Everyone knew. And yet the twist wasn't just that Meghan was criticized. The twist was that her entire rebrand post-royalty, post-Spotify, post-Oprah was now at risk. She'd bet everything on As Ever, and the bet was backfiring. But then in a leaked behind-the-scenes clip from a later episode, a different Meghan emerged. No makeup, hair pulled back, holding a chipped mug. Looking straight into the camera crew, she said, "They want the version of me that struggles, not the one that organizes linen drawers. I get it, but maybe I'm allowed to do both." It was raw, real, uneven, and ironically, the first time since the series began that audiences felt like they were finally seeing her. The backlash didn't stop, but it softened. Some influencers retracted criticism. Comments on As Ever's Instagram grew more nuanced. "Still not sure if it's my style, but this feels more honest." But one final episode yet to air held a closing monologue Meghan insisted remain untouched by editors. No script, no lighting, no re-record. And when it leaked early, it asked one brutal question. What if I've been playing the wrong role all along? In the leaked finale of With Love, Meghan, there are no florals, no slow-motion tea pours, no ambient music. Just Meghan sitting at a wooden table lit by a single lamp. She looks directly into the camera and says, "Maybe I've spent too long trying to be palatable, to be the right kind of duchess, the right kind of mother, the right kind of brand." But the truth is, authenticity isn't about getting it right. It's about being honest when you don't. It was the most human moment of the entire series. No filters, no staging, just confession. And it landed like a thunderclap. For months, Meghan had been accused of faking authenticity, curating a persona instead of offering her real self. But in this final scene, the contradiction unraveled. Because maybe the greatest misstep wasn't inauthenticity. Maybe it was misalignment, trying to build a brand rooted in vulnerability without ever showing real vulnerability. Martha Stewart had never needed to fake that. Her journey had been messy, public, even scandalous, prison, bankruptcy, reinvention. But through it all, she showed up as herself. Imperfect, present, real. Meghan, on the other hand, arrived with a backstory but edited out the mess. And in a genre where relatability is currency, that omission cost her. Still, it's not too late. The backlash to As Ever has not ended her brand, but it has exposed its limits. The glossy perfection, the curated calm, it's not what audiences want anymore. They want cracks, edges, a sense that the person behind the screen is someone they could actually talk to, not just admire from afar. And Meghan, if she leans into that truth, still has a chance to pivot. Her leaked monologue ends with a line that could redefine her next chapter. "I'm not trying to be Martha. I'm just trying to be someone who learned how to begin again." It's vulnerable. It's direct. And ironically, it's the most authentic thing she said in this entire rebrand. So now the question is no longer, can Meghan succeed as a lifestyle icon? It's which Meghan are we getting next? The polished duchess of Netflix contracts and soft focus aesthetics? Or the one who sat in a dark kitchen, finally daring to admit she might have missed the mark? The fame economy rewards those who adapt. But the lifestyle economy rewards those who endure. And endurance only comes from truth. Do you believe Meghan's rebrand is finally turning honest team reinvention? Or do you stand with Martha's original creed? That real lifestyle comes from lived experience, not performance. #Team Authentic. Comment below. Team Authentic. True legacy comes from doing the work, not building the image. #Team Reinvention. Everyone deserves the chance to begin again, even in public.